She was one of the most iconic voices in rock history. But for 30 years, Christine McVie was living a completely different life that almost nobody knew about. Not her bandmates, not the media, not even her closest friends at certain points. What she was hiding wasn't just a secret, it was an entire version of herself. And when the truth finally came out, it shocked everyone who thought they knew her. Here's what makes this story so devastating. Nobody saw it coming. Christine McVie wasn't just a member of Fleetwood Mac. She was the voice that held the band together. Think about those songs for a second. Don't Stop, You Make Loving Fun, Songbird. These weren't just hits. They were moments. Moments that defined entire lives for millions of people around the world. When you heard her voice, you felt something. You believed every word she sang because there was so much truth in it. But here's what nobody realized at the time. The woman performing on stage in front of thousands of screaming fans was only showing the world 50% of who she really was. The other half, that part was hidden, completely invisible. To understand this, you have to understand what being Christine McVie in the 1970s and 80s really meant. Imagine this. You walk out of your house and there's a camera. You go to the grocery store and someone recognizes you. You sit in a restaurant and people stare. Photographers follow your car. Journalists analyze every word you say in interviews. Record labels call demanding more albums, more tours, more of everything. Your time isn't yours anymore. Your face isn't yours. Your image belongs to millions of strangers. And the pressure? It's not just about the music. It's about being watched, judged, dissected every single day. What are you wearing? What's your marriage like? Why do you look sad in that photo? Are you and Mick Fleetwood getting along? Everyone has an opinion about you. She was married to John McVie, the band's legendary drummer. The pressure on that relationship alone was suffocating. You're not just a couple anymore. You're a brand. You're a story. You're a tabloid headline waiting to happen. But there was something building inside Christine, something nobody could see, a need for something different. Something that didn't involve screaming crowds or tabloid headlines or people analyzing her every move. By the late 1990s, something had to give, and then it did. In 1998, Christine McVie made a decision that shocked the entire music world. She walked away from Fleetwood Mac. Not for a year. Not for a tour break. She stepped back from the public, almost completely. And when I say completely, I mean completely. To everyone watching from the outside, it looked like retirement. She was tired of the industry. She needed a break. Maybe she was unhappy. Maybe she had health problems. Maybe there was conflict with her bandmates that never came to light. Everyone had a theory, but every single theory was wrong. The truth was far more interesting than any of those stories. What the world didn't know was that Christine wasn't disappearing because she was broken. She was disappearing because she was beginning something entirely new. While her name faded from headlines and her songs played on classic rock radio stations over and over again, she was building something completely different behind closed doors. She wasn't depressed. She wasn't unhappy with her career. She was actually, and this is the part that blows people's minds when they find out, she was reinventing herself. And nobody saw it coming. For 30 years, Christine was incredibly active. But here's the crucial part nobody was watching. No paparazzi, no cameras, no music producers calling to convince her to come back for one more tour, one more album, one more moment in the spotlight. She had finally achieved what every famous person dreams about, but almost never gets: complete privacy. The strange part was her silence. She never gave interviews explaining why she left. She never wrote a tell-all book. She never went on podcasts talking about burnout or industry struggles. She didn't leak information to magazines. She didn't post cryptic messages on social media. She just disappeared. And that silence? It made people curious. It made them confused. It made them wonder what was really going on. Some people thought she was bitter about the music industry, that maybe Fleetwood Mac had hurt her so badly that she needed to escape. Others thought she had serious health problems, cancer, heart disease, something that forced her to step away. A few wondered if there was some massive conflict with her bandmates that never became public. Maybe John and she had divorced, and it was ugly. Maybe there was drama nobody knew about. But the truth was far more interesting than any of those theories. And when it finally came out, it changed everything about how people understood Christine McVie. While Christine McVie was officially retired from music, she was living a life that most people would never imagine for someone of her stature. She had moved away from traditional music industry circles. She was spending time with people outside of Hollywood. She wasn't interested in the celebrity world anymore. She was discovering hobbies and interests that had nothing to do with being a rock star. But here's where it gets really intriguing. The most shocking part of her double life wasn't just about what she was doing. It was about what she was studying, what she was learning, what she was exploring in complete secrecy. There's a reason Christine kept this hidden for so long, and it's actually quite beautiful. She knew that the moment this became public, every news outlet would interpret it through the lens of her fame. Every journalist would want to sensationalize her private interests into a story about the rock star's secret passion, or why Fleetwood Mac's keyboard player chose this over music. She would lose control of her own narrative again. She didn't want that. She needed something, anything that was just hers. Something where she wasn't a legend, where she wasn't Christine McVie the icon, where she was just Christine, and for 30 years, she managed to do exactly that. She had constructed two completely separate worlds. In one world, she was Christine McVie, legendary musician, Fleetwood Mac icon, rock and roll royalty. In the other world, she was just Christine, a regular person with regular interests and regular relationships. What made this even more extraordinary, what people are still talking about, was how well she protected this secret. Think about when she was doing this. The 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s. This was an era where social media was exploding, where Instagram made it nearly impossible to hide anything, where one leaked photo could spread across the internet in seconds. And yet, Christine McVie completely disappeared from the public eye. No leaked photos, no gossip from friends, no accidental revelations on social media, no rumors spreading through celebrity circles. She had constructed a wall so strong that even people close to her didn't understand the full scope of what she was doing with her time. But here's what everyone learns eventually. Secrets have a way of surfacing. And what came out after 30 years of silence revealed something that absolutely changed how people understood Christine McVie forever. The revelation didn't come from Christine herself. It came from people around her, close friends who had stayed in touch, family members, colleagues who had remained connected to her during those 30 years of quiet. When they started talking, really talking, about what Christine had been doing all this time, the picture became clear. And it was nothing like what people expected. What stunned everyone wasn't just what she had been pursuing. It was the depth of her commitment. She hadn't casually explored this interest during her spare time. She had dedicated entire decades to mastering it, to understanding it deeply, to building a life completely around it. This wasn't a side hobby. This wasn't something she did on weekends. This was a genuine passion that rivaled, if not surpassed, her love for music itself. Think about that for a second. Christine McVie, one of the greatest musicians who ever lived, had found something that mattered to her even more than music, something that made her happier, something that felt more authentic to who she really was. The most powerful part of this revelation was what it showed about identity. The world had built an image of Christine based entirely on her music. They thought they knew her. They thought they understood what motivated her, what fulfilled her, what she cared about, what made her feel alive. But they had only ever seen one version of a much more complex, multidimensional human being. Some people reacted with shock, others with genuine admiration. Many felt like they had finally been let in on a secret that explained so much about why she stepped away. This wasn't about ego. It wasn't about conflict with bandmates. It wasn't about regret or burnout. It was about authenticity. It was about choosing who she really wanted to be, rather than who the world had decided she should be. It was about freedom. The conversations that followed were emotional. People who had been loyal fans of Christine McVie for decades suddenly saw her differently, not as a lesser artist for stepping away, not as a failure or a loss, but as a braver person, someone who had the courage to walk away from everything that defined her public identity, someone who chose herself. But this is where the story gets even deeper. Once you know what Christine McVie was really doing for those 30 years, her decision to stay away from Fleetwood Mac starts making perfect sense. And it's not what you might think. It wasn't that she didn't love music anymore. She absolutely did. It wasn't that she had grown to hate performing or recording. That wasn't it at all. It was that she had found something else. Something that felt more genuine, more fulfilling, more like the real Christine McVie. Here's something most people don't understand about the music industry. It operates on a very specific timeline. Tours are scheduled years in advance. Album cycles demand constant promotion. Radio stations expect new material. Bandmates depend on you for availability. They depend on your commitment. When you're part of a machine that big, something as legendary as Fleetwood Mac, stepping away even partially creates ripples. People feel hurt. Audiences feel abandoned. The business side starts to crumble. Tours get canceled. Albums don't get made. Fans feel betrayed. Christine understood this better than anyone. She had lived it. She had been the backbone of one of the most important bands in rock history. That's why she didn't attempt a middle ground. She didn't try to balance Fleetwood Mac with her other passion. She didn't say, I'll tour once every 5 years, or I'll record one album and then take time off. She made a clean break, and it was the most respectful thing she could have done. Because integrity meant this. If she couldn't be fully committed to the music, if there was something else that called to her more strongly, then Fleetwood Mac deserved someone who could be fully committed, someone whose heart was completely in it. This decision came with a real cost. There were missed reunions, missed opportunities, conversations with bandmates that never happened because she was protecting